let me guess. You're here for one reason, and that is to know some procedures on how to eliminate risk and hazard in hospitality industry. And guess what? I'm the one who will discuss about it. By the way, I am Pamela Dayo, taking Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management in Batangas State University. I wonder if you're a student like me, or a teacher, an employee, or a stakeholder. Well, this video can be for everyone. Might as well finish watching this. You never know. The information in this video can be your future reference for your business to have a hazard-free environment. Take note, finish watching this video, and if you can, give an opinion from time to time. So let's go and join me as I discuss how to eliminate risk and hazard in hospitality industry. You cannot properly eliminate such thing if you don't have enough knowledge of what you are preventing and eliminating. So before we go on directly to our main topic, let's define first what is hazard and what is risk. Do they have any differences? Hazard or occupational safety hazard are natural risks present in a certain workplaces. Risk or occupational health risk is the possibility of suffering health impairments from exposure to a hazard that originates in the working environment. So definitely, hazard is any source of potential damage, harm, or adverse effect, for example, to people as health effects, to organization as equipment or property losses, or even to the environment. It can be a thing, substance, material, source of energy, condition, process, practice, and behavior. While risk is the chance or probability that a person will be harmed or experience an adverse effect if exposed to a hazard. It may also apply to situations with property or equipment loss or harmful effects on the environment. Now that we got to know the definition of hazard and risk, we will now identify hazards and risks present in hospitality industry, mainly in a workplace and in food service operation. And then right after, we will determine appropriate ways how to assess, control, and eliminate all of those.
Workplace hazards includes physical and mechanical hazards, chemical hazards, biological hazards, psychosocial hazards, ergonomic risk factors. The physical and mechanical hazards is the most common source of injuries in many industries. Such examples are slips, trips and falls, noise, electrical injuries, temperature extremes, machine-related burns, cuts and shears, and having limited openings for entry and exit. Chemical hazards. You should be able to determine and be aware of chemicals that when exposed to humans there could be adverse health effect that might happen. Examples are solvents, adhesives, paints, toxic dusts, chemicals that have low exposure limits, and highly volatile chemicals. Biological hazards. Determine whether workers may be exposed to sources of infectious diseases, molds, toxic or poisonous plants, and infected animals. People can be exposed to hazardous substances by being used directly in work activities, generated during work activities, naturally occurring substances, and biological agents. Such examples are bacteria, virus, fungi, mold, blood-borne pathogens, and tuberculosis. Psychosocial hazards. These include occupational stress and workplace violence, which are recognized internationally as major challenges to occupational health and safety. Such examples are feeling of job insecurity, aging workforce, long working hours, and work intensification. Examples of ergonomic risks factors are heavy lifting, work above shoulder height, repetitive motions, or tasks with significant vibration.
Note, risk is the product of hazard and exposure. Thus, risk can be reduced by controlling or eliminating hazards or by reducing workers' exposure to hazards. An assessment of risk helps employers or stakeholders understand hazards in the context of their own workplace and prioritize hazards for permanent control. First, we should follow and review valuable sources such as Occupational Safety and Health Administration standards, Hospitality Industry Consensus standards, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health publications, and relevant information from professional associations. That is to have a legal basis and foundation and prevention of hazard on a certain workplaces. Second, protect the worker with personal protective equipment. I will show you the type of PPE for hand, foot, and eye that are commonly used in hospitality industry, and this is according to Service and Hospitality Safety Association. Type of PPE for hand that are commonly used in hospitality industry. We have your work gloves that is used in handling garbage, landscaping, and working in storage areas. Chemical-resistant gloves that is used in cleaning with or handling chemicals. Disposable waterproof gloves that is used in cleaning blood and other body fluids. Cut-resistant gloves that is used in food service operation when cutting, and equipment operations. For food, we have non-slip footwear that is used in working in and around kitchens. This is also used to prevent slippery and falls. Steel-toed boots, this is used in operating landscaping equipment. Footwear with ankle support, it is used in working outdoors. For eyes, we have safety glasses for general eye protection and safety goggles and face shields that is used for working with chemicals that may splash. Observe personal habit and personal hygiene. In the field of hospitality, you as a stakeholder should implement measures and principles for maintaining health and personal cleanliness of your employees. That is also to avoid biological hazards to occur in your workplace. Take administrative controls. Change the way people work. How? By implementing training programs. That is to improve employees' skills, deliver additional information, and most importantly, provide awareness on their job descriptions. You should also train workers about the hazards of workplace violence and appropriate responses to violent behavior or threats. You as employer or stakeholder must also know how to motivate your employees and make them more productive, like for example giving rewards and bonus. By doing so, you are also progressively eliminating the risk in your workplace in line with your employees. Hazards that could be eliminated are first and foremost psychosocial, physical, chemical, biological hazards also. Just an advice, an employee with proper knowledge with what he or she is doing, follows rules and regulations, committed on his or her company, is an employee that could possibly accompany you to success. Machine-related and engineering controls. This means all the tools, equipment, and machineries must be all safe to use. You should isolate people, be it internal or external employees, from the hazard. Whenever possible, you should select equipment, machineries, and materials that are inherently safer based on legal authorities. You should also conduct routine preventive maintenance of facilities, equipment, and controls to help prevent incidents due to equipment failure. In this procedure, proper maintenance and use of radiant heaters, air conditions, and chillers is also included and must also be properly observed to avoid people in workplace from getting heat and cold stress. To prevent slips, trips, and falls, you must post warning signs, especially for wet floors and uneven surfaces. To prevent ergonomic risk factors, you should examine work activities that require heavy lifting, manual handling, and involves balance and posture. Use safe lifting techniques. Organize storage areas by weight with heavier items between knee and chest levels to minimize lifting. Employers must also know the proper posture in accordance with their job description. Conduct safety inspections regularly. Examples of the things to look for are improper storage of materials, accumulation of liquid or grease on floors, failure to put a sign or barrier near wet floors, lack of guarding on mixers and equipment, lack of visibility through swing doors, poor maintenance of equipment, dirty or broken personal protective equipment, dull knives, electrical wires exposed, or electrical outlets close to liquids. Now we're done with eliminating workplace risk and hazards. Let's proceed to the food service operation. Basically, there are a lot of hazards that could possibly arise in the food industry or in the food service operation. And right now, we're going to identify first those hazards in order for us to know how are we going to eliminate them. Food safety hazard is a biological, chemical, or physical agent or condition that could potentially cause an adverse human health effect. Simply said, it is anything in food that can cause harm to the consumer in the form of foodborne illnesses. Foodborne illnesses are defined as diseases, either infectious or toxic in nature, caused by the agents that enter the body through the ingestion of food. Trivia, there are more than 250 known foodborne diseases. Isn't it scary? That's it, be scared because I'm scared also. That's why we should be extra cautious and be aware on what we are eating. Back to the food safety hazard, it is classified into three categories: biological hazard, chemical hazard, and physical hazard.
Biological hazards includes bacteria, parasites, helminths, virus, fungi, and prion. Chemical hazards includes agricultural chemicals or pesticides, natural plant toxins, animal toxins, food additives, medications, radioactive substances, and alcohol. physical hazards includes foreign objects in foods such as hair, pebbles, glass shards, toothpick, plastic, metal fragments, and fabrics. Let me also include the contamination, in which it is the unintended presence of harmful substance in food, while cross-contamination is the transfer of such harmful substances from one food to another through a non-food surface such as cooking wares, equipment, and food workers.
So now it's time for us to know how to control and prevent hazards and eliminate risks in the food service operation. A clean and hygienic environment starts with a healthy food handler. So for a food handler to be considered healthy, he or she must be free from diseases that may contaminate the food, such as intestinal disorders, respiratory tract diseases, and skin diseases or disorders. When employees become ill, their potential as a source of contamination increases. Proper attires must be observed: the hair restraint, work clothes, footwear, facial mask, and gloves. Personal habit of food workers. Employees must stay healthy and maintain cleanliness on themselves, and by doing so, we can prevent outbreak of foodborne illnesses. Habits must include taking daily baths. It is the most basic requirement among food handlers as it ensures their cleanliness. Trimming of nails, it is a requisite in food preparation. Shaving and haircut for meals must be properly observed. Wounds and cuts must be properly covered. Wearing of jewelries must be prohibited at all times. Aside from being a physical hazard, it may also become biological hazard as they have crevices that can harbor microbial growth. Wearing of nail polish or false or artificial fingernails should not be allowed among food handlers. Smoking and eating inside the kitchen should not be allowed. Any unhygienic practices that could result in cross-contamination should not be allowed. Proper hand washing. This is the single most important practice in preventing the spread of foodborne illnesses, especially right now as we are experiencing a pandemic. Hand hygiene is a critical element in any outbreak prevention control strategy. Let me discuss to you the proper hand washing. Wet hands with warm running water. With soap, thoroughly wash the hands and lather out to the elbow. Scrub thoroughly using a brush for the nails and then rinse. Resoap and rub hands for at least 20 seconds. Pay special attention to the back hands, wrist, between the fingers, and then the fingernails. Hands should be rinsed while under running water, and it should be dried with a single-use towel or a hot air dryer. Turn off the faucet using the paper towel to prevent contaminating it again, or use disinfectant if available. Tasting of food must be done with a clean spoon, and the spoon must be washed immediately. Never taste the food with the fingernails, and personal belongings must be stored in lockers or cabinets away from food preparation areas. And as we talk about foodborne illnesses a while ago, I'm going to discuss also how are we going to prevent it. Foodborne illnesses can be prevented through proper cooking or processing of the food, and there are 3 stages in processing of food. The first one is the food preparation stage, food processing stage or cooking, and then the last one is the food storage stage. If prepared foods stand at a room temperature for more than 2 hours, it may not be safe anymore. So you should refrigerate food promptly and set your refrigerator at 40°F or lower and your freezer at 0°F. Bacteria can spread from one food product to another throughout the kitchen and can get into cutting boards, knives, sponges, and countertops. So you should keep raw meat, poultry, seafood, and their juices away from ready-to-eat foods to prevent cross-contamination. Handle food properly. Always wash your hands properly for at least 20 seconds with warm soapy water before and after handling raw meat, poultry, fish, shellfish, produce, or even eggs. Also, wash your hands after using the bathroom, changing diapers, or touching animals. Wash utensils and surfaces before and after use with hot soapy water, and wash sponges and dish towels weekly in hot water in the washing machine. In the food processing stage or cooking, you should cook your food with the appropriate internal temperature. 145°F for roast, steaks, and chops of beef, veal, and lamb. 160°F for pork, ground veal, and ground beef. 165°F for ground poultry, and 180°F for the whole poultry. You can also use meat thermometer to be sure. Foods are properly cooked only when they are heated long enough and at a high temperature to kill the harmful bacteria that cause illnesses. In the food storage stage, you should also refrigerate food promptly, maintain hot cooked food to 140°F or higher, reheat cooked food to at least 165°F, refrigerate or freeze perishables, produce, prepared food, and leftovers within 2 hours. Never defrost food on the kitchen counter. Use refrigerator, cold running water, or the microwave oven. Never let food marinate at room temperatures. You should refrigerate it. Divide large amounts of leftovers to small, shallow containers for quick cooling in the refrigerator. Remove the stuffing from poultry and other meat immediately and refrigerate it in a separate counter. Wash all unpackaged, packaged, and not marked pre-washed fruits and vegetables under running water just before cutting, cooking, or eating. Scrub firm produce such as melons and cucumbers with a clean produce brush. Dry all produce with a paper towel to further reduce any possible bacterial growth. Do not overcrowd refrigerator. Cool air must circulate to keep food safe. Food establishments must know the regulations and get professional help in detecting, identifying, and monitoring chemical hazard. Food handlers and consumers should strive as much information regarding chemical hazard or contamination. The more knowledgeable your establishment is, the better you are prepared and minimize the effects to human health, environment, and prevent future incidents. To prevent common physical hazards, you should inspect raw materials and food ingredients for field contaminants that were not found during the initial receiving process. Follow good storage practices and evaluate potential risk in storage areas. Develop specification and controls for all ingredients and components, including raw materials and packaging materials. Properly and regularly maintain the equipment in the facility to avoid sources of physical hazards. Periodic employee training and set up an effective detection and elimination system of physical hazards such as metal detectors, magnets, X-ray machines, and food radar system. For deeper understanding of elimination of risk and hazard in hospitality industry, we can refer to guidelines and principles provided by professional and governmental agencies and international associations such as Occupational Health and Safety Administration. It is a large regulatory agency of the United States Department of Labor that had a federal visitorial power to inspect and examine workplaces. Next is the National Institute of Occupational Health and Safety. They are responsible for conducting research and making recommendations for the prevention of work-related injury and illnesses. We can also refer to international laws and national laws, such as Sanitation Code of the Philippines. It is a law that empowers the DOH or Department of Health with the powers and functions such as undertaking the promotion and prevention of the health of the people and raise health standards of individuals and communities throughout the company. Department of Health or DOH. It is the executive department of the government of the Philippines responsible for ensuring the basic public health services by all Filipinos throughout the provision of quality healthcare and regulation of all health services and products, and then regulatory agencies such as BFAD or Bureau of Foods and Drugs, Hygienic Safety Manufacturing Practices or GMPs or Good Manufacturing Practices. They are the basic operational and environmental conditions required to produce safe foods. They ensure ingredients, products, and packaging materials are handled safely and that food products are processed in a suitable environment. HACCP or Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. It is a management system in which food safety is addressed through the analysis and control of biological, chemical, and physical hazards from raw material production, procurement and handling to manufacturing, distribution, and consumption of the finished product. Codex Alimentarius Commission. It is the collection of internationally recognized standards, codes of practice, guidelines, and other recommendations relating to foods, food production, and food safety. While FDA or Food and Drug Administration is responsible for protecting the public health by ensuring the safety, efficacy, and security of human and veterinary drugs, biological products, and medical devices, and ensuring the safety of our nation's food supply, cosmetics, and products that emit radiation. So, that's the last part of my presentation. I hope you're still with me until this point, and I do hope that I transfer some knowledge and information to you. Once again, I am Pamela Dayo, and let me end this video with a reminder. Make safety a key part of your business.